Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Is anybody out there? Hello, YouTube land. Bum, 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 bum. Am I live or am I not live? That is the question. I've broadcast this, or I've scheduled this, so I don't actually know if it's worked. It's telling me that I'm live, but who knows? Am I live? This is the big question. Is there anybody there? I've scheduled this, which I don't normally do, so I have absolutely no idea whether or not it's actually working. Good morning, Tina Hansen. I scheduled this, so I didn't know if it was actually I've never scheduled one before, so I didn't even know if it was going to work. How are you? How are you on this fine Wednesday? Is the sound okay, by the way? I've got a different microphone. I don't know whether the sound's 6 a.m. Wow. 6 a.m. Wow, thanks for joining me so early. That is 6 a.m. So what are you? You're 7 hours behind. Wow. Nice to see you here. Does anyone see the Criminal Confessions, the Chris Watts Criminal Confessions on Oxygen? I've actually managed to see it over here now, because we don't normally get to see stuff like that over here. Okay, no worries, Tina. Listening in Maine. 8 a.m. in Maine. Sound is good, barely awake. Don't blame you at 6 a.m. in the morning. I knew this would probably be an awkward time, to be honest. But I just thought I'd split it, do one now, one later. So, hi, Kim Timlin. Yes, I've actually managed to see the Oxygen, Chris Watts Oxygen Criminal Confessions. It was quite good, to be honest. It was quite it's quite insightful. It's probably one of the better programs that they've had on to do with the Chris Watts case. Have you managed to see it, Kim? It's we don't. I managed to catch it on YouTube. Somebody put it up on YouTube. They kind of had to edit the sound and the picture and everything so they wouldn't get copyright struck. But it was quite good. It's quite a good documentary. Tammy Lee was on there. Steve Wren, deputy to Rourke, was on there. Kirby Lewis was on there. Yeah, it was quite good. I say it's really annoying we're not able to watch. I think you can watch Oxygen, but you have to get it through Amazon or something like that. Over here, it's difficult to watch, but yeah, it was good. It's quite interesting hearing Tammy Lee on there, and she'd never actually met Coda either, which I found was interesting. Look for it after. Yeah, the version that I watched the quality wasn't very good. but I think they've had to do that to stop copyright. It keeps sort of zooming in and out of the picture, and the sound's not brilliant, but you can kind of gather what's said. And it was good. It was very good. They basically broke down how it went down. How they managed to get him to confess. So that wasn't really difficult, was it, to be honest, in the end? But yeah, Tammy had never met Coda. It was the first time they met, which I thought was quite interesting. They were saying the bit about because after Chris had done his first interview with Graham, the next day obviously Chris's dad came down, and they were kind of really, it was point break whether or not they were going to let him speak to his dad. That was kind of, because like they say, Ron could have turned into the protective father and just shut it all down and asked for a lawyer and stuff, but he didn't. So and obviously Chris confessed to his dad, so they were saying how that was kind of the was a breaking point. Really could have gone either way, couldn't it? Ronnie could have said, look, you're not talking, you need a lawyer and what have you, but he didn't. So that's kind of the way it went. So yeah, it was certainly interesting. So have you all started your Christmas shopping yet? Have you all started your Christmas shopping? I hate Christmas shopping. I really do. If I know what I'm going to get, it's fine. If I know what shop I'm going into, it's fine. But if I don't, then no. If I don't know if I don't really have a clue what I'm getting or what shop I want to go into, then I just can't bear it. Too many people milling around, too many people coughing, too many people with colds and flu, and you end up catching something, don't you? But I do love Christmas though. It comes so quickly, doesn't it? As well. What we know, 11th of December. It's like 2 weeks today, isn't it? Last minute, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm like as well. I always think, it's like got a couple of weeks. I'll do it next week, or and then you end up rushing around on Christmas Eve. Hi, Dorothy. See, you end up rushing around on Christmas Eve, don't you? Getting last minute things. So it sounds okay, is it? I've got this different microphone now, and I've got it kind of just a foot away from me. So I hope it sounds okay. So Dorothy, whereabouts are you? Are you in the UK or are you in the US? I can't remember now. Just wondered if you'd seen the Oxygen documentary, the Chris Watts Criminal Confessions, that was on the other night. But as I said in my last video, the one thing that I did say on there, which they made very clear, and it was a CBI agent in charge. Hi, Snow Remover. It was a CBI agent in charge, Kirby Lewis, and he made it clear that they were fully aware of the Mistress, and he did say after investigation, so they obviously did look into her probably a lot more than what they've let on, that they're confident she had absolutely no part to play in it. So case is closed. Why people think that there's still an ongoing investigation, I have absolutely no idea. I really don't. I don't understand that at all. Or how people think that by gossiping and speculating they can get the case reopened is again, it's just beyond me. I don't understand. It's not going to happen, is it? Let's face it, the case is closed. I'm sure some covered their eyes and ears when you posted that. Yeah, they probably did. They'll probably say that, they're not saying anything because they're trying to make out that she's still under investigation and they don't want they don't want to frighten her off or something like that. That's probably what people are going to say now, isn't it? It's clear it's closed. The case is closed. It was closed a long time ago, in my opinion. They stopped investigating her probably shortly after he was put in. They took him in, to be honest. Yeah, Dorothy C. I grow up in Boston, Massachusetts. I love to. Yeah, absolutely, and that's the other thing. These people, the things that they had to see and the way the case, it was clear on the documentary how the case has affected them. And for people to say that they did a shoddy job and it was such a poor investigation, it was a sham and a cover-up, it's so disrespectful, really, isn't it? For what they had to do and what they had to go through. Tammy did say that she was ready for a trial, and to her it was all shut down very quickly and what have you, but she didn't mean in regards to anyone else being involved. She was just meaning they didn't fully investigate how it all went down and what happened, and that's why they went back in. Hi, Irish Eyes. That's why they went back in February, was because Tammy Lee Coder and Baumhover decided that they needed to know finally what happened. Hi, Marmalady. Yeah, Tammy Lee's great, and she looked great on the documentary. She was saying actually how much she because what she did is Hi Firefly, when they started obviously initially when Shanann was just a missing person, Tammy started looking up Shanann's Facebook and stuff like that. She was saying, hi Diane. She was saying how she started looking up Shanann's Facebook, and Tammy herself said that she came from a long line of Italian women, strong, sassy and assertive. So straight away she was keen to, very keen to find out, what had happened to Shanann and the children. She was very heavily emotionally invested in it straight from the beginning. So, and there's no way they would have let any of those CBI agents would have let anyone else, like NK, who thought they may have been involved. They wouldn't have let her go, without being fully confident that she wasn't involved. So there you go. That was I think that sums it up, Dorothy. And she's going to suffer now. At the end of the day, isn't it? Her life's changed forever now because of that. She got with a man who, who suddenly decided to wipe out his family, and unfortunately, she's got to pay for that now. Whatever conversations they had, even if she said, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have a family, or you were free to be with me, it's all irrelevant because he made the decision to wipe his family out. But she's still got to pay for that, hasn't she? She's gonna pay for that for probably the rest of her life. If she's had to change her name and her identity, which it sounds like she has, then yeah. And whether she'll ever come out and speak, who knows? Who knows? She's welcome to come on here. Nicole Kessinger, you are welcome on this channel if you want to come in disguise and speak in the chat. I don't suppose she ever will, but if she is aware of our channel, she knows that we've always been fair, and we've never accused her of being anything more than a mistress. So there you go. Yeah, I suppose it is a pity that there wasn't a trial. Obviously it would have been a painful trial, wouldn't it? The details that would have come out would have been, it wouldn't have been nice, would it? There would have been some real difficult stuff that people would have had to see and hear, and maybe it's saved us all from that. But I think just what people will never ever be able to understand is why he did it. Why he did it. How he went to that length and did that. And that's what people can't understand, that he just planned that and carried it out all on his own. I think that's why people, high AP, I think that's why people have to have someone else involved, because they just can't, in their heads, they can't, equate how he could have done that all by himself, Yeah, Agent Coda, I suppose. I don't know what they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say, I suppose, involving past cases and what have you. But Tammy was quite outgoing about, how she felt and, how she got involved. It was quite interesting. They were saying that, because they checked Shanann's phone. They were saying after watching Chris's porch interview, they were saying that apparently Tammy turned to Coda and said, "Oh shit." So basically, I think they knew, as we all did from the porch interview, that there was far more to this than what he was letting on. I think they knew straight away then, as we all did, that he was guilty. And then upon checking Shanann's phone, they could see that she had spoken to a lot of her friends, basically saying that Chris was being very distant. He wasn't being himself. So he clearly changed, didn't he, in the last week or so. She clearly knew something was very wrong. He became very distant, wasn't himself at all. And then they were saying during the interview, his first interview with Coda, he kept, as we heard, he talked about the children in the past tense, which of course was a red flag straight away. He would say that, "Oh, Bella loved that," or "Cece used to love doing that," and that sort of thing. They didn't believe his falling out of love kind of bullshit that he was coming out with. And he got a -18 on the polygraph. He got a -18. A -4 is a general fail. +2 is like a normal pass, what somebody who wasn't being deceitful would get. Somebody being deceitful would score -4 normally, and he got a -18. He failed every question, basically. Dorothy C. The trial wouldn't have even started yet. It would still be in the news. Look at Mark Sievers. Yeah, I know. They go on for years, don't they? These trials. Sometimes takes years for them to actually reach trial, doesn't it? I've noticed that. But he's been, Mark Sievers has just been, he's got the death penalty, hasn't he? I think that's right. He's been sentenced to the death penalty. And I think it was in Florida, wasn't it? So if anyone's not aware, he was a guy that basically hired 2 hitmen to kill his wife while he was away. She was a doctor. She had her own YouTube channel and stuff as well. Teresa Sievers. She was like, let me call it, but she was a doctor and she had a YouTube channel. Hi, Kimberly. Yeah, he had her knocked off. But yeah, he's been sentenced to the death penalty. And I noticed when they sentenced him, he showed absolutely no emotion at all. Absolutely no emotion at all. Which a lot of these people don't, do they? Complete flat. Emotionally completely flat. He's been sentenced to death. So yeah, but it's good that they get caught, these guys, isn't it? Absolutely. Yeah. Criminal mastermind not. Exactly. Thank God they're not. Always seem to get caught in the end, don't they? So yeah, so he had the so the evening after the first interview that he had with Coda, they after that first evening, they started then checking Chris's phone, his computers, and obviously they then found out about Nikki, and that then of course changed the whole case for them. That was kind of the turning point, because obviously then it completely changed the dynamic, this motive for doing it. They wondered, did Shanann know about NK at that point? They weren't sure, they didn't know. And that morning Ron arrived as well. They took Ron into one room, Chris into another, interviewed them separately. And as I say, they found out about NK on his phone. So they already knew about that, which, as we know anyway, don't we? And of course, it was at that point they then found they were out at the survey site and they found the sheet. They found the removed disturbed dirt. So it was all kind of unfolding before their eyes, really. But Tammy said at that point, once they knew about NK, and once obviously they knew that they'd found the sheet at survey and stuff like that, her attitude completely changed then. She was desperate to find out what he'd done to them, what he'd done to Shanann, and to make sure that they found them, so she was not being nice at all anymore. But she also said about, the victim blaming technique, the Reed technique. It's quite a common technique that they use. I mean, how do you feel about that? It's because on one hand I can see how it works. It kind of shifts a little bit of blame from them, or makes it easier for them to confess. But then on the other hand, it opened up that kind of window, didn't it, to start blaming Shanann. So I'm kind of in two minds about that technique, really. It's hi Helen Rowley. Did you get into the Facebook group okay, Helen? I think I approved you. There was a couple that were still waiting approval, but I think I approved you in the end. Just in case anyone isn't aware, we do have a Facebook group now. If it's just called, if you just search for Team Phoenix, then you should find it. It's just called Team Phoenix True Crime. Remember now, just look up Team Phoenix True Crime and you'll find it. It just needs to be pre-approved by either me, Kimberly, or Firefly. But yeah, feel free to join that if you want to. It's a secret, it's a private group, so you should be safe in there. We'll kick out any bad people, don't worry about that. So yeah, and then so back to the interviews. They were saying that basically, when Chris said he wanted to speak to his dad, it was basically a spur of the moment decision that they had to make. Do they let him speak to Ron or not? That was a decision that they had to make on the spot. And basically it could have gone either way. Ron could have, he could have turned protective, and, he could have said, Chris is not speaking unless he gets a lawyer. He could have completely shut the whole thing down. So for them, that was kind of breaking point, really. I mean, thankfully for them, Ron didn't do that. Obviously, his dad didn't do that. He wanted to get the truth out of him. So whether his dad just wasn't thinking at that point about a lawyer, or whether he just wanted Chris to tell the truth, obviously I don't know. But Mama Lady, I think when used only as a tactic, as Tammy did, it's okay. I loved when she said ultimately Shanann was cleared by the medical examiner's findings. Yeah, I mean, they knew straight away that Shanann wasn't involved. I think everyone did, didn't they? And it kind of annoys me a bit when people say that they've vindicated Shanann and stuff like that with whatever they did or found. Nobody believed that it was Shanann from the beginning. Nobody. And as soon as Chris pled guilty to doing all himself, she was vindicated anyway. So, yeah, it's a bit annoying when people try and claim that they were the ones that vindicated Shanann. It's like, no, you didn't. So yeah, they're talking about Ron, how that was a big decision, which you can see why, can't you? That could have gone differently if Ron had, his dad had, said Chris is going to speak to a lawyer, and they could have shut up shop completely then. Oh, thanks, Kimberly. There's the Facebook name. So it's too long for me to remember. But yeah, feel free to look that up and join if you want. Yeah, so I did get to see it. All right, guys, I found it on YouTube. It wasn't a great copy by any means. The sound's really bad, and the picture keeps zooming in and zooming out. But I think they've done that so they don't get copyright struck, I guess. It is watchable. If you just do a search for it on YouTube, I can't remember the name of the creator, but it is on there. As I say, it's not a brilliant copy or anything like that, but it is watchable, just about. So yeah, have a look. Oh yeah, one other thing I found was quite interesting was as soon as Chris and they let Ron, his dad, into the room with Chris, Tammy Lee and Coda literally ran to the observation room, obviously to see what he was going to say, and they said it was just complete silence in the observation room as they were waiting to hear what Chris was going to say. And she also said that when Tammy Lee came back in and she was kind of rubbing Chris's shoulder, she said she did that because she knew that it was making him feel uncomfortable, and she basically wanted to make him feel as uncomfortable as possible. So, I know some people have said, oh, why was she rubbing his shoulder or rubbing his back? That's the reason why, because she knew that it was making him feel uncomfortable, and she wanted him to feel that way. Nate was on there as well. Nate was kind of freaked out because he was saying about how he shook Chris's hand. Obviously, when after they looked at his footage, how he shook Chris's hand, and that kind of still haunts him today. That he shook the hand of a killer, basically. So that kind of freaked him out a little bit. But Nate was on there saying about his CCTV, and that's another thing I picked up. Nate was saying his camera picks up anything and everything. He knew that it would have caught anybody leaving or coming from the house. He said it'll pick up anything. So for people to say that there was another car there, or a red car had pulled up on the gravel and all that stuff, it's complete rubbish, isn't it? Because Nate's camera would have picked it up. It would have picked it up. So, like Nate said, his camera picked everything up, absolutely everything. And he would have known anything that looked odd on his camera, any odd-looking vehicles. He would have known, wouldn't he? Oh, you saw it, Kimberly. Yeah, it was quite good, actually, wasn't it? It's quite insightful to see the agent and just see how much it's affected the agents as well. They've never ever seen a case like it, and it still affects them to this day of just how somebody could do that. How a man could do that to his family. And the reason they went back in February was to try and get answers. As to why he did it. And she said that she does believe Chris's story. From his prison interview in February, she does believe that's the truth. Although, of course, there was a bit added to that, wasn't there, from Sherilyn Cadle's book. But that was just addition, wasn't it? It still all fits together, really, the story. Oh, you saw it, Dorothy C. Yeah, you may have seen them on. Yeah, I saw it on YouTube. You may have seen the same one as what I saw then. It was really bad quality, but I think they did it on purpose to try and avoid copyright matchups. You know. But it was good. I presume there's only one part to it. I presume it didn't appear that there was going to be any other parts, to be honest. It's one of the better things that's come out though since it happened. I think this movie that's going to come out in January, I think that's going to be complete waste of time. Really, I wouldn't really bother watching that. I don't understand why they're doing a film. I don't understand why they're doing a film at all. Really, so soon afterwards as well. Yeah, Tammy looked great in it, didn't she? She really did. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. I want to believe her necklace was a nod to Shanann. The teal aqua green was one of her favourite colours. It could well be, couldn't it? She certainly did seem to have a affinity with Shanann. Definitely, that came across. Hi, Kelly. Azola. Ah, bless. Yeah, she did a bit in the interview room, didn't she, when she was saying about, you know, don't let people think that Shanann did it, you know, don't let that happen. She kind of broke down a bit in the interview, didn't she? Because she could see how it was going. And, you know, she even said to Chris, didn't she, you sure you want the public to think that Shanann did it? And, of course, Chris said yes. But nobody believed it, did they? Nobody believed it at all, ever, at any point, really. At any point, I don't believe. And yeah, Tammy did look beautiful. She did. I mean, they couldn't have had a better agent, could they, to question Chris really and do the polygraph. She absolutely nailed him completely. Oh, that's interesting. AD has an FBI agent backing up his red car story. Nah, that's complete BS. Absolute BS, that is. When is he going to admit? When is he going to admit that he's wrong on that? He won't, will he? He's completely wrong on that. I heard he was trying to confuse everyone the other night as well about something that Steve Wren had said. The deputy DA said something about on the programme about the truck being on the other side of the car or something, and, you know, meaning Nate's car. And apparently he was trying to confuse people by saying that he meant there was another car on the other far side of Chris's truck. Just ridiculous, isn't it? People believe it. Why do people believe it? I don't understand. So frustrating. Hope her family can get through as well. She's yeah, she will be. Tammy Lee, I presume you're talking about. Yeah. It's got to affect you, isn't it? You know, it's impossible not to. It's affected all of us, and we've only seen it on TV and on YouTube, and you can imagine being involved in that. I mean, and obviously she said about the recovery process. You know, she said that's an image she'll never get out of her head of, you know, pulling those children out of those tanks. It's something she'll never ever get out of her image out of her head. And that's totally relatable and understandable, isn't it? Even just to think about is bad enough, but to actually have that image in your head, it's just awful. I thought it was great how she expressed her frustration. Person would have punched him. I'm sure she did want to punch him in his head, probably. Fortunately, I don't think she's probably allowed to do that, but I'm sure that there's a few things that she wanted to do to him. It's amazing, isn't it, how people still, after all this time, are talking about it and are fascinated by it. Why do you think that is? Why do you think we're all still here talking about it and him? Is it because we're all trying to understand still why he did it? That's the only reason I can think. But the trouble is, are we ever going to understand? Because, you know, we're not like him. We're not like Chris Watts, are we? You know, are you ever going to understand someone like that? Probably not. Probably not. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment, definitely. As long as his subs believe him. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I loved it when after Tammy done the lie detector test and she told him he'd done an excellent job and he was a very good liar. Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? I like the way she said, you know, at the moment, only one of us knows what happened in this room, but after this test, we'll both know, kind of thing. Hi, Adele. Adele Brown. Go back to the start. Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about going back to the start, Adele. We were just going over the documentary, really. Some have seen it, some haven't. I managed to catch it on YouTube. Someone put it up on YouTube. It's not a great copy, but you could gather what was said and the stuff on there. And it's interesting. If you haven't seen it, I'll definitely recommend watching it. Tammy Lee was on there. Steve Wren, he's the DA's deputy, was on there. Kirby Lewis was the lead agent, was on there. And it was quite interesting. It's definitely worth a watch. It's one of the better documentaries that's come out since it was released, or you know, since everything happened. So yeah, so the other, I don't know if anyone watched the film or maybe, but the other case I'm looking into, which is so baffling, it's kind of doing my head in, and more look into it, is the JonBenet Ramsey case. It's just so mystifying, and just when you start to think one way, you kind of start thinking a different way. I don't know. Are you all familiar with the JonBenet Ramsey case? It's over 20 years old now, but it was huge in America at the time. It was a little girl, 6-year-old girl in Boulder, Colorado, who got murdered in her own house. She was like a pageant girl. And it's just baffling, absolutely baffling. Oh, just going back, what's that Irish Eyes? I didn't see that. Didn't want to make sense of Rebecca thing yesterday, followed by Frank. Where was that Irish Eyes? I didn't see. I haven't seen that. I'm not aware of that. Where did that occur? I haven't seen that. Whose channel was that on? Was that on under someone's video or in somebody's live or? Whoa, ML's out with the icons. Oh, Kelly remembers the case. Yeah, the JonBenet Ramsey. It was. So there's a lot of this. It's basically, it was, the mother woke up very early in the morning on Boxing Day, 26th of December. This was 1996. She said that she found a ransom note on the staircase. It was basically saying that, you know, a small foreign faction said on there, "We've got your daughter. You need to pay us $118,000, otherwise, you know, you'll never see your daughter again," basically. And so then she phones the police, 911. You know, says we've got a ransom note. our daughter's missing, basically been kidnapped. We've got a kidnapping, blah, blah, blah. So the police turn up. They start searching around, thinking it's basically a kidnapping. Don't find anything. Friends come over and all sorts of people start milling around. And then sort of a few hours later, one of the police officers says, "Well, we'll just do a top to bottom search of the house one more time." And at that point, the father goes down to the basement and finds his daughter dead in the basement. She'd sort of been gagged, she'd been strangled, and then they later found that she had a massive fracture to her skull as well. And it's just mystifying because you've got this ransom note which says, "Don't ring the police, otherwise your daughter will die." So why did the mum ring the police straight away? They then found out that the ransom note had been written inside the house, because it was written on a notepad and pen that the mother was owned by the mother, which was really weird. Who's going to break into a house, write out a 3-page ransom note, which they reckon would have took about 20 minutes to write? Any time you could be caught, you're in someone else's house, written this ransom note, either before or after they'd killed this child. It was just bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. So there's a lot of speculation that it may have been the mother that done it. Or it may have been an accident that they're trying to cover up. And then there was a theory that because they found a window open in the basement, that someone could have come through the basement window and done it. But then it was proven that there were cobwebs in the window, and the cobwebs hadn't been broken or anything, which would have occurred if that had happened, if someone had come through. So it's really, really mystifying. I've done one part of the video. I'm going to split it up because it's so long. So if you haven't seen part 1, please watch it. But I'll probably do it in a few different parts. I'm just going to go back to this. She released this really long thing about stalkers and threats to her family. And then Frank sort of added to it. I don't know, Irish Eyes. I haven't seen that. I'll have a read of that after. I haven't read that. I mean, I know obviously the family have had, horrendous abuse and threats and stuff like that. Well, I don't know. I haven't read that. I'd have to read that before I make any comment on that. I don't know. But I'll go and read that after for sure. Yeah, that was the other thing, like Dorothy's saying there. Because initially they thought it was kidnapping. The Ramsey parents, they called friends. Friends came over. There were loads of people walking around. Basically, which was a crime scene, which should have been cordoned off, they were saying. But because initially they just didn't know what happened, so much forensic evidence would have been ruined and messed up because there were so many people walking around. People started cleaning the kitchen. It was crazy. So it was kind of doomed from the start, really. But so the father found her body down in the basement and brought her upstairs. Sort of laid her on the floor. Then she was moved around again a few more times. Again, that was saying, again, that was ruining forensic evidence potentially that could have pinpointed someone. And yeah, it's just, there's a lot of speculation on it. There's a lot of theories on it. What could have happened? A lot of people think it was all staged because the ransom note just looked staged and fake. A lot of people say that it could have been her brother. She had a younger brother called Burke who had hit her before, apparently with a golf club. They were saying that maybe he hit her with a flashlight that was in the kitchen. A lot of experts have done a lot of testing and looking into this years later. They said that the flashlight on the kitchen counter fitted exactly to the blow on her head where her skull was fractured. They're saying it could have been that. As I say, some people think that because apparently JonBenet had a real sort of bedwetting problem at the time. They're saying that maybe she'd done that and her mother lost it and hit her and killed her, and obviously trying to cover that up. Yeah, just really, really, really baffling. Really baffling, even to this day. I honestly don't think they're ever going to know. She's since died now. The mother's died. Patsy Ramsey. She died of cancer. So whether she took secrets to her grave, never know. But it is a mystifying case for sure. Oh yeah, sorry, that's another thing, Dorothy. Yeah, the handwriting on the note, they said, a lot of experts said that it was very likely, highly probable that it would have been written by Patsy, the mother. And they actually had a grand jury look at everything a few years later, I think, and they agreed to indict the parents, to basically bring them in for charge and for investigation. But the DA at the time, I can't remember his name, but the DA at the time disagreed with that and said that they weren't going to be indicted, and that only came out years later that they had actually agreed to indict the parents. And so some people are saying because they were a wealthy family that had a lot of power in the area, that then maybe that would have swayed things. So yeah, it's really difficult to. Yeah, there's a really good 2-part documentary on YouTube. There's quite a few actually. But it's really hard to form an opinion on it because your mind changes all the time. And it's quite hard to make a video on it because you've got to kind of explore every little possible avenue on it as well, because there's so many possibilities and there's so much shrouded in mystery. It's impossible. Oh, it's an interesting fact there. And Kimberly, Patsy and JonBenet are buried a few miles from where I live. So sad. Yeah, she was buried right next to her daughter, wasn't she? I just don't know if they'll ever find out the truth in that. I really don't. I can't. And there's been some people that have come forward, wasn't there, years later, that said it was them. But they were found out to be just lunatics, basically. That there was one guy, I can't remember his name, Mark somebody, I think, said it was him. He was out in Thailand or something. But and there's also talk that there may have been sexual abuse history as well, because they found some DNA on her underwear from an unknown male. But then the documentary that I watched, they proved that even a sealed packet of underwear that had been bought, they even found DNA on that because it can be picked up from the manufacturing process. People are handling it in the factory. They can transfer DNA onto it that way. So it's sort of really, it's really difficult to actually for them to have real solid evidence, I think what they were doing, jumping around the pageant circuit, was wrong. Yeah, personally, I wouldn't do that with my own daughter. That pageant stuff, I think it's too young to be. I wouldn't want to expose my children to people looking at them in that way. I just, I'm not saying it's wrong. It's not something I agree with, but it's not something I would do. But yeah, it just seemed a bit strange to me having someone that young sort of dolling them up in that way. But I know it's a big thing in some parts of America, pageantry and stuff like that. Yeah, you're definitely right there, Dorothy. There's too much crossing the line, isn't there, between YouTube and real life? We've seen that over the past 6 months or so. People, YouTube needs to be YouTube, doesn't it? When we go on our computers and we put in stuff on YouTube, and that needs to be YouTube, and then people's lives is something is something separate. I mean, I think you should stand anything you type on YouTube. You should be able to stand up to in real life. Trouble is, people know that they've got anonymity and they'll write stuff on there that they would never say in real life. But yeah, to then start trying to harass people in their real life for stuff that they've said on YouTube, that's just crazy. It should never happen. Unfortunately, it has, isn't it? Yeah, that's a good point, Adele. I think a trial would have been damaging to Shanann's family. Having to hear details of their loved one's death would have been too much for them and everyone else with a heart. I think you're probably right. As I say, a lot of people, a trial would have maybe answered a lot of questions that have been left. But on the other hand, it would have been so difficult to hear, wouldn't it? It really would. Especially knowing now what happened, it probably would have been too much for a lot of people. So maybe it saved, especially like you say, it saved the family from a lot more possible heartache, really, isn't it? If that's possible. Kimberly says, I don't like the pageantry for such young girls. Personally, I think it's not healthy for their mental state as they get older. Yeah, I know my mum Patsy was into pageantry, wasn't she? So obviously that's where that came from. But no, I agree. I don't think it's healthy either. I don't think being a pushy mum is helpful either. I know a lot of people accuse mums of pushing their children into things, don't they? And I think you've got to be careful of that, definitely. Hi, Michael Longford, rather. Sorry. Good afternoon. It's pouring rain here, actually. It's just started raining. About 10 minutes ago, it started hammering it down. So, not great. Not great. Dorothy C. They had mentioned the brother got upset with her and accidentally killed her, but also mentioned the mother may have done it because she was a bedwetter. That's right. That's two of the theories. So one is that her brother Burke, I think he was 9 at the time, but he was known to have hit her before with a golf club quite hard. So they're saying that maybe was that a possibility that the younger brother had hit her, maybe a bit too hard than he imagined and accidentally killed her, and then obviously have the family then protected their son from going to prison for the rest of his life, and then obviously then having no children. So yeah, that is a possibility. And then like I was saying earlier, she was known to bedwet. There was one of the officers who was adamant that that's what happened, that the stress of Christmas and everything, and maybe she wet the bed and the mum had freaked out and maybe accidentally hit her head against something a little bit too hard or something like that. There's all these possibilities, and that's why it's such a mystifying case, because there's so many different possibilities. So, as I say, if you watch a documentary about it, you'll see what I mean about how many different possibilities there were and what could have happened. It really is very, very strange. Yeah, and that's a good point as well. Dorothy, when the Ramsey case happened, forensic science and DNA wasn't as advanced as today. Today they would have got touch DNA off the note. Yeah, that's the other thing. The note was, they were passing the note around as well, so everyone was getting their fingerprints on it and DNA on it. So everything basically was, all of the forensic evidence was kind of ruined from the start, really. So it was kind of doomed to fail from the beginning. But I've never heard of a case like that before, have you, where a ransom note has been written inside the house like that, and a ransom note that long, 3 pages long. Diane, they tested the taser gun on someone and said it wasn't done with a taser and possibly a toy train track. That's correct. So she had 2 little marks on her back, kind of little pinpoint marks, and they were saying that initially they thought that maybe she had been stunned with a taser initially, but then they tested that and it doesn't match up. The taser points and the marks on her back don't match up. And then one of the investigators later on found a piece of train track, where they slot together. It's got like 2 points on it, and they found that matched exactly with the marks on her back, which is a piece of track that her brother had. So they're thinking now that maybe that's what that's what she was poked with on the back. And that's the other thing. I mean, they would have had to sort of go up to her room and get her out of her bedroom, wouldn't they? If it was anyone that broke in. I mean, how would they have done that without alerting anybody else? Very, very odd. Very, very odd. So you always end up starting to lean towards the family being involved. But then obviously you've got to be careful about going around sort of accusing people. And then sometimes you feel bad about thinking it was the family. It messes with your mind, that case. It really does. Joy Ramsey also lost an older daughter in a car accident. Tragic losses. Oh, that's right, yeah. Yeah, they lost another child as well, didn't they, in a car accident? So, yeah, as I said earlier, Mark, I don't know if anyone's been following the Mark Sievers case, but he's been issued with a death penalty. So he was the guy that hired 2 hitmen to kill his wife. So his trial's been going on. It happened a few years ago, 2015, I think. But yeah, he's been charged with the death penalty. So he got his comeuppance in the end, which was great. Look at Mummy Ramblings and Jaws of Thought. It's nonsense. Just Jaws of Thought lost. Yeah, what's happened with that? I've seen. I saw a bit about it a little while ago, and I haven't got involved in it. It's nothing to do with me. A lot of people were pointing the finger at Jaws of Thought. But I don't know. I don't know. I know there's been a lot of drama going on there. But yeah, that's as much as I know, to be honest. I would have to look into that, but Jules, I thought his channel's still going though, isn't it? Is she still got her channel going? I presume she has. I did hear rumours that she was going to close her channel, but I don't know if that was just a rumour. So, who's going to get snow this year then for Christmas? I don't think we are. I thought we were a little while ago. They said we were going to get a lot of snow in the UK this week, but that's not happening. Doesn't look like. But I presume some parts of the world, presumably a lot in the US, I think you probably do get snow, don't you, on Christmas Day? We've not had a white Christmas in the UK for a long, long time. Long time. It'll be nice, but it's never happened. Okay, see you later, Diane. Thanks for popping in. We'll go and do the school run. The good old school run. Take your brolly. It's raining here. I don't know what it's like where you are, but yeah, that's a good point, Dorothy C. Chris did not plea bargain to save anybody heartache. He did it for himself. He didn't want the embarrassment. He's a monster. Yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it, why he instantly was so keen to take the plea deal. Was he just saving his own skin, his own life? Was he saving himself the embarrassment of everything coming out in the trial? And why did he steal the kids' autopsies? Medical records. Why was that sealed so swiftly? I think that's confused a lot of people as well. I don't know if that's normal practice. Is it for people's medical records to be sealed like that? I don't know. Yorkshire has had some morning frost, but no snow yet. Yeah, we've had a few days of frost. A few weeks ago we had some frost, but no, we've had no snow. But you know, it's like in this country, they every year it's always going to be the worst winter for 50 years, and we're going to get 10 foot of snow, and then it just never happens. It's so disappointing. I love snow, but we never actually really get much, do we? We did a few years ago. We got quite a bit, but we've not had any for a few years. So yeah, if you do want to watch the Criminal Confessions, have a look on YouTube. It is out there. It was earlier. It was yesterday, but it might still be on there. The copy I watched wasn't very good, but it was watchable. You got the gist of the program. Dorothy C. The weirdest things happen in Colorado. Look at this smart girl taken right from her bedroom, and then the guy who killed his wife and daughter and threw them in his work dumpster. I haven't seen that one. When did that happen? What is going on in Colorado? Everything seems to be coming out of Colorado, doesn't it? Hi, Kaylee Roberts. Yeah, all these weird, crazy cases seem to be coming out of Colorado. What's going on? Don't understand. Oh, it's a bit cold in where Kimberley is. Oh, you don't get snow either. Oh, we don't. Good afternoon, Kaylee Roberts. Adele, but yeah, they kind of touched on that a little bit in the documentary, Adele. They're all, well, as you know, I don't know if you know, Detective Baumhover. He had to give up, didn't he? He gave up his job. There's an article came out a few months ago. He's just getting PTSD from seeing children and stuff like that. So he had to actually give up. But yeah, they were all saying they affected Tammy Lee. She just said a couple of days later she went home and she just broke down crying. And I think that was probably after the recovery process. She said she'll never get that image out of her head of recovering those children out of those tanks. I mean, you can totally relate to that, can't you? Even just thinking about it. Definitely someone in the water in Colorado. You're absolutely right. Definitely. It's going to put people off moving there, won't it? Oh my God. Did the Ramseys have an alarm system? I don't think they did. It certainly wasn't mentioned It certainly wasn't mentioned in all of the sort of research I looked into. Didn't say anything about an alarm system, which is weird, isn't it? Because having such a big house and a lot of money, you would think they would have an alarm system, wouldn't you? That's a really good question, actually. I haven't heard any mention of one. Haven't heard a mention of one. Certainly, if they did, it didn't work. Or they obviously had, no one actually broke in, of course. In the 30s here too, Kimberly. Still have a little sleep left over from yesterday. Wow. 30, so what's that in centigrade? So it's interesting because in the UK we tend to use Celsius, but I've noticed in the US you always use Fahrenheit, don't you? We always kind of use Celsius over here. Kelly's got snow. Wow. Awesome. I'm glad someone's got some snow. Mark Sievers thought he was going to be sitting plush with property and $4.5 million. Now he's on death row. He's a moron. She had so much more to do on this earth. Yeah, absolutely echo that. Complete moron, isn't it? How he thought he was going to get away with that, I'll never know. But yeah, killed his wife, and for what? Idiot. It's a shame because Colorado seems like a beautiful state. It does, doesn't it? All the pictures I've seen of it, it looks lovely. It looks lovely. It's a very popular state as well, isn't it? So what is this imaginary FBI agent? I've heard about this. Apparently, a certain armchair's got an FBI agent who's backed up his red car theory as well. Yeah. I'd say what else I thought was complete BS was there's a creator out there. I won't say who it is, but apparently she has phoned Betty. This is what she said. She's phoned Betty, and Betty confirmed that she did turn left on that morning, apparently, on the phone, which is complete BS, as I call that, complete BS. And apparently she confirmed that to AD. So, yeah, think of that what you will. Complete rubbish. Peggy K, yeah. Could some people be more sensitive to the high elevation? Maybe it messes with their ability to think clearly. Possibly. It's high up, isn't it? Colorado. Possibly. There's definitely something going on there. That's where all these horrendous cases seems to emanate from, isn't it? Thank you, Kimberly. 33 is almost 1 degree. Wow, that is cold. Oh my God. It's about, I think it's about 9-10 degrees here. So I'm guessing that's in the 40s Fahrenheit, isn't it? Something like that. 50 maybe. Dorothy, medical records are protected under the HIPAA laws, and those children had a right to privacy. That's the extent of it, I think, and I believe her family sealed those. He only took the death penalty off. Right, okay. So it's quite normal then for under HIPAA for children's medical records to be protected then. Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably normal, isn't it? I don't think there's anything unusual, especially unusual about that. Yeah, leave Betty alone. I don't believe for a second that creator phoned Betty and Betty said that. Something as huge as that, you would want that on written, wouldn't you, or recorded or something. You're not just going to phone off the whim and then, oh, okay, yeah. No one's going to believe you, are they? So no, I don't believe that. I think we all know Betty turned Well, she didn't even need to turn right, did she? That's the thing. People make out the thing that, oh, she would have had to have turned right, and then her headlights would have been shining on Nate's camera, and then she would have had to take a left. All she had to do was like take a, like a diagonal, just like go across diagonally, couldn't she? Besides, Nate would have noticed if there's anything unusual on that camera. He would have noticed, wouldn't he? If he would have known if that wasn't Betty or if there was any other cars there, he would have known straight away. Yeah, this Celsius thing. So yeah, I've noticed that we always use Celsius. We very rarely do we use Fahrenheit. And if it gets really warm, and then we're like, oh, it's 90 Fahrenheit tomorrow or something. But generally, we use Celsius over here. So I have noticed that you use Fahrenheit, and I can never get the conversion right because it's not easy, is it? It's something like double and add 30 roughly, isn't it, or something roughly? But I don't know the exact science behind it. So yeah, I think this film, Chris Watts' film, comes out in January, doesn't it? I mean, what sort of film would you really want to go to the cinema and watch something like that? It seems weird, doesn't it? Going to watch cinema to watch film of a family annihilation. I wonder what age rating they'll give it. Actually, that's interesting. I wonder what age they'll give it. It's not exactly family viewing, is it? Oh, here we go. His name is Michael Blagg, and he killed his wife and daughter and brought them to the work dumpster. They found only the wife in the dump. Very tragic. Oh my God. You don't think people are getting ideas, do you? Like off of these cases? Like, I wonder if these people watch other cases or have seen like the Chris Watts case and it gives them ideas. You'd hope not, wouldn't you? So they only found the wife. So if they found the daughter, then how do they know for sure that he's killed the daughter? That's just terrible. What is going on in this world? It just seems to be happening more and more, doesn't it? So it must be so unsettling for you women to read about all these stories where their husbands, kill them and their children. It's awful. Daughter was 6 years old. He was a religious man, great husband and dad. It's always the case, isn't it? Always a great husband, great dad, great friend. Never would have imagined they would have done that. That's frightening, isn't it? That is frightening. Maybe I wonder if religion had a part to play. Remember, we were when we were looking at Family Annihilators a little while back. One of the sort of reasons was that people can be religious and they feel that their children aren't following the same religion or what have you. That can sort of play a part, or they may feel that they're letting their religion down. They even put religion before anything, even their own family. So I wonder if that had anything to do with that case. There's certainly a lot of evil in the world. Absolutely right on that. Far too much of it. But I guess where there's humans, there's going to be evil, isn't there? That's the way you have to look at it, Where there's people, there's always going to be evil ones and wrong ones. Never found the daughter. He was only convicted for the wife. How tragic is that? Her body's still out there. That's awful. I'll have to look that one up. Michael Blagg. I'll have to look that up. And that was in Colorado as well. That's tragic. Oh, here we go. His religion did have a part because she caught him watching extreme porn and he didn't want to be exposed. He was a born-again Christian. That's absolutely insane, isn't it? What? Why would you kill your child just for that? It's a little 6-year-old girl. Dear, oh dear. Probably didn't even know what she was watching. She only came across it by accident. When my cousin's ex killed their children and his girlfriend, he left his girlfriend's body in the basement and dumped the children over a bridge into the river. Oh dear. It's so callous, isn't it? It's, when you just think of it, it's just so heartless and callous. How could you dump your children over a bridge? That's heartbreaking. It really is. I'm so sorry to hear that, Peggy. That's awful. It's so sobering when you hear stuff like that, isn't it? Unbelievable. Oh, it happened in the mid-2000s. He got a retrial. A couple of years ago, he was reconvicted. The retrial was because of a juror who lied on their application to become a juror. Wow. Surely that's got to be a criminal offence, isn't it? To lie about an application to become a juror, especially if he actually did, if he actually was involved in any trials after that. Missing 411 is a good documentary I watched on YouTube. Follows stories of 3 or so missing kids in state parks. That's the other thing, isn't it? How many missing children are there out there, or missing people? I've had a look at a couple of sites where they highlight and advertise missing people, and there's so many. There's so many missing people. It's unbelievable, including children, you know. I mean, imagine your child go missing, or someone you love just goes missing, disappears out of your life, and you know, and you've no idea where they are. That must be just heart-wrenching. You know, not knowing whether they're alive, whether they're safe. He said he was saving them from having to be raised by their mother. Oh, that is evil and sick, isn't it? That's one other thing as well. Sometimes the man will punish their partner or their wife by kind of killing their children. It's just sick, evil form of sort of punishment in a way. When they found the wife's body, she did have a bullet in her head. It had taken a couple of months to find her. They think the daughter was so little there was hardly anything left. Oh dear, oh dear. I'll definitely have to look into that one though. Michael Blagg. Gosh, why are we interested in crime? It's so depressing sometimes, isn't it? It really is. It's unbelievable how many are missing from state parks. When asked to provide any info, government said they do not keep records and would be 1 million to generate the records. That's a shame, isn't it? The money has to get in the way. There's a famous case over here. You probably know the Madeleine McCann case, and that investigation has been going on for years and years, and they still get funded for it, for the investigation and the search. A lot of people don't kind of agree with it, but they are still getting funded for that. I don't know what funds go in for other missing people and children in the UK. I don't know, but that's one particular case where they've sort of continued to be funded. Personally, I don't think Madeleine will ever be found now. I mean, you know, who knows what she's going to look like now? She'd probably be, what, 15, 16 now? Something like that. She's going to look completely different, isn't she? I mean, she could be, if she's still alive, she could be anywhere. I don't think personally they'll ever find her. Dave Trance, it's how Watts disposed of the bodies I can't comprehend. No, I think that's nobody can comprehend. How can you? I mean, when you look at those hatches in the oil drum, they're barely, I mean, they're so small, aren't they? Barely fit a child in there. It's just unreal. I mean, what was going through his head at that point? You could never understand, could you? But I personally, I do wonder if the reason he did that was because he believed that they would never be found. I wonder if he thought that he was going to get away with it, because if he thought that he put the children there, who's going to look in there? But then you think, well, he had GPS on his truck, so was he just not thinking at that point? Had he forgotten about the GPS on his truck? Surely he must have known that was on his truck. So was he just a dumbass? But yeah, the way he disposed was, nobody will ever be able to comprehend that, and that's what affected all the agents as well. I mean, the recovery was, like Tammy Lee said, she'll never get that image out of her head of having to revive those children, rescue those children from those, recover those children from those oil tanks. So Peggy K, why kill his girlfriend? I think he killed her to keep her from stopping him from killing the children, because he killed her first. So just to be sure then, so this was your cousin, was it? So he killed his girlfriend and his own children. Is that right? Is that or was it your cousin's friend? But whatever way you look at it, why kill his girlfriend? Who knows what goes through the head of these people? Yeah, Dave. I mean, Nate had it solved, didn't he? Basically, Nate knew straight away. By Chris's behaviour, he knew straight away. I think we all did, didn't we? From watching him, the way he reacted. But yeah, Nate was on the documentary as well, by the way, on the criminal confessions, and he spoke really highly of Shanann, which was really nice. He said what a lovely, outgoing person she was, and she was always smiling. And because he got a little bit of flack, didn't he? Because initially he said in that body cam footage that he'd always heard them fighting and stuff, Chris and Shanann fighting, but he later retracted that statement. I think he was basically just trying to, because he knew himself that Chris had done something. So I think he was just trying to reinforce that point that you need to look at Chris, basically. Right, okay, so it's my cousin's children she had with him. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, why kill his girlfriend? That is mystifying. I suppose you wonder every day what the hell he was thinking. I mean, you've got anyone that murders anyone, you've got to wonder what the hell are you thinking, really, haven't you? You know, it's why do people go to that extreme? Have you seen appropriate adult film about Fred and Rose West? I've seen quite a lot on Fred and Rose West. God, a complete pair of evil couple. Killed many children, buried them under their house that was in the UK. They found bones and everything under the house in the garden. Horrendous. It's Cromwell Street, wasn't it? I can't remember the town. Is it in Gloucestershire somewhere or something like that? But yeah, I've seen quite a lot of stuff about Fred and Rose West. Right, okay, guys, it's been 90 minutes, so I am gonna jump off. Got a few errands to run, stuff like that. So, and I'll try hopefully to get back on later this evening. So, probably be around about 9 p.m. this our time. I've put the times on the community page anyway, but yeah, hopefully I'll be able to come back on. It'd be good if a few of you can make it as well. Yeah, so enjoy the rest of your afternoon or morning, whatever time it is where you are. Hopefully you don't get rained on where you are, because we are here, definitely. I've got to go out as well, so I'm going to get wet. But there you go. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I'll hopefully speak to you a bit later on. So take it easy, and I'll speak to you again. Thank you.